I will keep YouTube up in case.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Simracersworld GT Pro Series, brought to you by Porsche Sport. We're at round 4. We're at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, also known as Mosport, and you would need a foreshortening of that indeed. And I am here with the young and brilliant Jack Werrell. All small technical difficulties and issues aside, we should be live and direct to you all out there. So a very, very warm welcome to a round of racing here tonight that I think we're really looking forward. I know the musical intro being a little bit different here tonight. That's of course all down to the issues here. And Jack, are you well familiar with this track?
If I'm honest, I only bought it today, so I'm definitely not familiar with the circuit, but lots to look forward to. And I think going into round 4, after seeing what's happened at the first 3 rounds and what this championship has got to offer, this is going to be the perfect intro for me to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Indeed, and I haven't really had much experience here around either, so just a quick talk through. I had a look at it earlier today, and this is going to be very, very interesting indeed. A tightly packed field of very skilled GT drivers hammering around a, I want to call it tight, I want to call it twisty indeed. It's very, very fast, but most of all, it's quite undulating. You have a lot of small crests, a lot of hills. It's kind of even reminiscent of the Thousand Lakes Rally in that sense. Lots of blind crests with a corner following, lots of it. It's a short track, but all in due consideration that it's something that's going to be posing quite a challenge actually for the drivers. And I think it's going to be a war of attrition here tonight. Of course, we always hope to see as many drivers as humanly possible make it to the finish line, but I think we're going to see a bit of that type of action here tonight as well. Let's hop over to some live pictures here as we're almost at the end of qualifying, and I'll just cue off the music and take you through the standings. It's Martin van Loosenoord currently quickest here as we're into the final 3 minutes of qualifying here with Joop de Ligt, Mario Yuri, who is of course now a platinum driver, then Johnny Verhoeven, Niklas Last, and Mr. Ashton, our reigning champion, 6th place Jack Ashton in the Ford Silla Ford GT. There he is. Sam Bentham, Rutger Weinen, then Robin DeVille, and it's Neil Cooper, Tom Methrell, who is now racing for Team 11. And Jack, we had a look at that car now. It's coming out the pit lane right now. It's kind of hidden. This creates a perfect climax. The build-up, and there it is. Look at that. It's a very pretty car, isn't it?
It really is. And I don't want to take sides. I do love the Meraki livery, don't get me wrong, but that Team 11 car, there's something about it which I don't know, it's just got an edge. I think it could be the mix between the spec map and just the colour combinations, but it looks really, really good. I'm not 100% sure what the reasoning was behind his change of team, whether he's still working or driving at Meraki, I'm not sure, but nonetheless, he's having quite a good outing so far because, like you've already mentioned, he is at the moment third. Is he third? Yes, he is. He's third in the gold category so far in qualifying, and that is really where he needs to be. And looking at who he's got around him, he's chasing down Neil Cooper, and we know how strong Neil is, and he's a platinum driver. So I'm not sure whether this change of team has given him a sudden sort of spur at the moment, extra bit of speed, but he's showing it off, and I can't wait to see what he can do during the race.
It's going to be really interesting. Of course, the BMW with good pace in this season, I want to say this official season, iRacing being divided into 12-week seasons, and the BOPs of most classes, I want to say at least the popular classes of cars, always get a tweak and a touch, and it seems that it swings back and forth which cars are really favored, so to say, by the BOP. This season really seems to be the 12 weeks of the BMW M8. We've seen it before, but it is really, really a strong machine. And a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for BMW before Jack Ashton put his Ford in there. So that really goes to show. Here's Niklas Last. We've got Pim Bao on a flying lap. We're going to check that out. There he is, just about to cross the line. The checkered flag is out, so it's going to be no more laps for Pim Bao. It's a 1:13.2, and it's enough for 13th. For the Dutchman. And let's see here, Lee Diemer for Excite Racing in his Ford GT. I think Matthias Temme has abandoned that lap, and that does look like a flying lap to me either for Lee Diemer. Let's see here, Niklas Last. Is that a flying lap he's finishing here? That could be, or was it just to get the final bits of practicing through? Well, that's tough to know anyway. Here is Niklas Last. He's going to park up the car. And that is going to mark the end of qualifying here from Mosport, from round 4 of the Simracersworld GT Pro Series. Of course, brought to you by Porsche Sport. And we are going to get the qualifying standings up on the screen in the shortest possible moments, as the computer is now processing the information. To be very old school with that very that's something you could have said in the 1990s. I feel like that doesn't really go anymore. But anyways, just a short second before we have the running order for our grid order for the race on your screen. And of course, a warm welcome, by the way. I didn't even get to say that, but a very warm welcome to everyone tuning in there. So sorry about those technical issues. I started streaming, and then within a minute of having gone live, Restream told me everything was offline, and I didn't really get to see that the stream was actually still running. So when I came back and the stream was running, I was happy indeed. And here we are, the grid indeed. Martin van Loosenoord on pole position in front of Joop de Ligt, Mario Jury, then Johnny Verhoeven, Niklas Last, Jack Ashton there, our reigning champ, the number 1 Ford Silla. Ford GT in 6th place, then Sam Bentham, Rutger Weinen, Robin DeVille, Neil Cooper, Tom Methrell there for Team 11 in 11th place. So that's kind of poetic indeed, if ever it was. And then John Barnes for Quantum in 12th place. And let's see if we can just get it to roll down, please. There it is. Thank you. Pimbao in 13th place, then Keanu Borgagnon, Bud Boland, Seb Heber in 16th for Simracersworld Esports, very nice indeed. Ryan Parkin 17th, Jeremy Hessels, then Ewan Marshall, Lee Deemer, Daniel Handover, then John Tusting, Paul Gosling, and Carl Sharkey for the Strasse Motorsport Esports team, which has a very, very good looking car indeed, I have to say. Ewan Marshall, Lee Deemer, Daniel Handover, I feel like we've been there. Matthias Temme, Marc-Antoine Thibault, the local boy, the Canadian, and then Austin Gretorix, David Fuller, and Ryan Walker for Nomad Sim Racing completes the grid.
Thank you very much, Hasse. A very, very busy grid indeed. And somebody who I think we may need to keep an eye on throughout this race. We've got to remember that throughout the entire season there's a 60 incident point limit, and then for each race it's 25, so you do have ways to earn them back. Obviously, like we've seen today, the local boy is starting at the back of the grid, so that will gain him back 10 incident points, which is quite a substantial amount. It's yes, what would that be? That would be, he will be down quite a few from where he is at the moment, because he is on 7, so he will basically go back to 0 incident points for Mark. But somebody who I think we need to keep an eye on is Javier Garcia Rodriguez, who isn't out on circuit today. I don't remember seeing him, and I think I know the reason why. He's on 68 incident points, so whether he gets back out on circuit through one way or another, but I don't think we will see him either tonight or for the rest of the season, because he's breached that limit. The closest person to him, though, is our best mate, Sir Alejandro Garcia de la Mata Torres. He is on 46 incident points.
And we might see some non-runs in qualifying that'll allow drivers to shave off some of those vital incident points, because it is indeed true that you will get disqualified for dropping over that limit. Kemi Racing asks if we have over 10 dropouts. Not overall dropouts, but we have a few drivers not racing today, and that's due to, well, a bit of a mix, I believe, of stuff like exams for some of our students, and a few drivers on vacation as well, meaning that we have a slightly less crowded, but still though a 29 car field here, as I believe David Fuller might be starting from the pits. He might have had connection issues here now, as Martin van Loosenoord is slowly crawling around the track. And this left-hander here over the crest and completely blind, then into the hard compression, and you'll have plenty of grip here as you turn into this right-hander, but then as you crest this hill, that grip is really going to be disappearing, and that's going to be really hard to set it up for the second part of this corner. And this is just how it goes on and on and on here at Mosport, and I think it's going to be a really interesting race. It's a short lap, it's going to be a tightly packed track, I believe, even with, say there in quotation marks, just 29 cars, because 29 cars still a very solid grid indeed. And a very good point again there from Cami, who's of course Cami Sturch, who is racing now in the Evo series, an acclaimed open wheel racer indeed. But a good point that the walls are indeed right there, and it really isn't much room or margin for error here, as I think we are getting into the final stages of our formation lap here, and it won't be long before we get the safety car peeling off to the right hand side. There it is, and now the field controlled by Martin van Loosenoord, and he's gonna be right on the throttle, I think, and the flag is green and they're off here. And it's a very good run as well from Johnny Verhoeven. They're too wide there. I think that's Nicholas Last, Mario Yuri. Who's that? That's Yuri. Yuri up into third. And then Johnny Verhoeven, Nicholas Last, and Jack Ashton, 6th place still for him. Seems we've had a fairly clean start so far here in 8th place. It's Robert DeVille, and we have had Sam Bentham, I believe, from quite a bit of way up the field. That's a bit of a notch perhaps, or is it? Wonder what happens there. Goes onto the grass, and that is going to be the first incident of the race, I'm afraid indeed. Now back up with the leaders here. Martin van Loosenoord leading the snake of cars onto the back straight. And when Anton Dupin is expecting a lot of crashes. I think we can safely say that we do so. But now here comes Joop de Ligt, and he's on the outside of Martin van Loosnoord. He's got over around there, but he's going to keep going the tricky way around there, and that's going to be a very difficult one to pull off. But he's going to be having inside lane for the next one. That's very brave indeed. But also, how good was that, Jack, from Martin van Loosnoord?
I'm not quite sure how he managed it. Very, very safe driving from the pair of them. Loosnoord now back in the lead. Joop de Ligt just behind Mario Juri up into third position, so a good start from Mario. Let's see what's happened here. This is Ewan Marshall. He gets a tap from an Excite car behind. I think, who was that? I think that could have been Lee Deemer, and backwards into the wall goes Ewan Marshall. So not a great night for Meraki. They've lost one of their drivers, and now Ewan Marshall's in the wall. This is now Pim Bao, the third of the G-Drive cars out on circuit, and he goes backwards into the wall. I'll say the third of the G-Drive cars, but it's in theory the second because we don't have Ben Thames out on circuit this evening.
No, he's one of the drivers who's... Oh, and Van Loosnoord goes wide there, and that's going to open the door for Joop de Ligt, isn't it? How in the living hell did he survive that situation there? It seemed to me he went very, very wide, and that was indeed a poetic call from Anton there. Another is going to be another round here. Joop de Ligt is going to send it right around the outside, and look at Mario Juri. He's looking to make it 3 wide here as they come round around the carousel. Oh, there's a bit of a square there a moment. Oh, and they almost touch. Brilliant stuff there from Joop de Ligt. Oh, and this time Mario Juri, a bit of a squeeze there, Rosberg-esque. But again, Martin van Loosnoord. Oh, and there's another problem there, and that's Jack Ashton. Oh, I'm afraid. And another one as well, I think. No, that's it. Just for Jack Ashton this time around. But this is... We're going to hop just a few seconds back to see what actually happened to our reigning champ. Oh, he went up the rear end of the Team 11 BMW there, of Tom Methrel, I believe. And now Johnny Verhoeven is losing position, and that is not good at all. Johnny Verhoeven now down in 13th place, and Joop de Ligt in the lead. His teammate Johnny Verhoeven with a bit of an incident there. Mario Juri very much in contention there in third place, looking poised for action with his teammate Niklas Last, currently in fourth place. And then the gold driver Robin de Ville for Flemish Sim Sports in that very good looking BMW, right up there in fifth place as well. Tom Methrel is up into sixth, then it's Rutger Wijnen, it's Neil Cooper, John Barnes, Keanu Borgignon as well in the Flemish Sim Sports Porsche, up into 10th place at the moment. So good to see the Porsches running where they belong in the top 10. And we, of course, I think that goes for all of us, at least in the booth, hope for a bit of a more fair BOP for the next season. And speaking of the Porsches, there's a very close battle between Ryan Parkins and the Strasse Porsche Sport. Porsche, oh, the Demon Twix car touches the grass and he goes off. Daniel Handover. I was just about to introduce his role in this small battle here. We're going to see... Oh, there it is. And we're just going to go on to the nose cam here. He just picks up a bit of grass there, Jack. Slams into the wall.
Yeah, really unlucky. You can tell he was pushing very, very hard behind the wheel of that Porsche. But just that couple of inches too far to the right, and that looks like it's going to put an end to any sort of battle. But look at this now, Joop de Ligt still in the lead, and Martin van Loosnoord just behind Mario Juri and Nicholas Last, both the Sim Racing Academy drivers there in P3 and P4. And I've got to say, I think Sim Racing Academy have got a good shout at possibly a double podium here, because Joop de Ligt has lost the assistance of his Manatee teammate, and Martin van Loosnoord hasn't even got a G-Drive teammate within the top 10 at the moment. So I've got a feeling Mario Juri and Nicholas Last will start to work together towards the end of the race. Look at this, Martin van Loosnoord looks to the inside. I'm not sure whether that was looking to the inside of Joop de Ligt or defending the inside of Mario Juri. He's got to do a bit of both at this point. He's still leaving his car in the middle of the road, making sure he fills the mirrors of the leader, but also prevents Mario Juri behind picking up the inside line. Here's Neil Cooper, the highest placed Porsche at the moment, up in 8th position. He's in a world of his own, really. He hasn't got any pressure from behind from John Barnes. He's doing everything he can to catch up to Rutger Wijnen in the Manatee race. I say that.
The strong curse of Jack Werrell strikes again as Rutger Wijnen. Look at this, ladies and gents. He just... An unforced error as he understeers wide. The car does not want to grip. And he's lost a lot of track position. There's another calamity in front there. And I'm afraid that's Tom Methrel and Ryan Walker this time around. Both Verhoeven getting involved in this one. Let's go with the roof cam here to see. Oh, and that's that crest as Tom Methrel picks up that outside wall. Poor luck indeed. It was going so well for the Team 11 driver. And this one, atrocious as it seems. That's very dangerous indeed. I think that was Jack Ashton almost collected there. The leaders will be trying to limit how much battle they do against each other, because it seems to be just about difficult enough just keeping the car alive here at Mosport. I have rarely seen anything as attritional as this. And Jack, we're hardly even 7 minutes into the race.
I know it's been a very, very busy start for everybody out on circuit, but we've got to remember that none of this has really been inflicted by anybody else. There has been a bit of door-to-door contact and the occasional tap, but a lot of this is self-inflicted. So whether you just give somebody else an extra couple of inches worth of two-room, but then run yourself out those extra couple of inches, touch the grass, and like what Cammy Sturge said in the chat, there's very little runoff. You hit the brakes on the grass, you haven't got long to really correct that oversteer or understeer moment, because the wall will be right there to pick up the pieces. There's Jeremy Hessels looking back now at Johnny Verhoeven for Manatee Racing. Johnny is in the draft going down the straight. Both of these cars, I'm assuming they're on very, very similar setups. In the BMWs, the Manatee Racing car is looking to the inside, but Jeremy isn't going to give him an inch there. Now very brave around the outside. We know what the Manatee cars are like around the outside. That's how the lead changed originally with the Optelicht around the outside of Martin van Leeuwenhoek, but it looks like the BMWs are going to be very, very close going into this left-hander. Jeremy Hessel's he's got his hands crossed up with Johnny Verhoeven at the moment, but I'm not quite sure how he managed that. He stayed in front of Johnny Verhoeven, but if these two keep battling, Keanu Bourguignon is literally on the tail.
Yeah, we have to be mindful of that indeed. It seems the incident has indeed spread the field just a little bit, but not too much. We still have a tightly contested battle here as well. And that's going on against, that's between Sepp Hepperer, Ryan Parkins, and Rutger Wijnen, who had a bit of an incident before. And then here, John Barnes. And is that Jeremy Hessels? And Johnny Verhoeven within half a second here as well. And that's the battle we were watching before as well. That's just coming in together here. Jeremy Hessels. Well, he knows Verhoeven is quick. So, might play into it as well with mind games. That car of Verhoeven seems just fine. And it seems it's keeping the pace here as they're looking. Oh, he might get... Oh, he's going around the outside of the Ford GT there. Jeremy Hessels. Look at that. That is a beautiful move indeed. Wow. I did not see that coming. I thought that Jeremy Hessels was just going to be looking to defend his position there. But certainly not. You want to have another look at that one, and you want to have it on board here? Well, here you go. Jack, talk us through it.
Well, around the outside, I'm not quite sure how he managed this. It's double apex right-hander and then into the inside of the left-hander. It seems like the outside through there is the best way. Look at that. Quantum Racing 4GT dropped back 2 positions in the space of 2 corners. Not quite what he was looking for John Barnes. But now Jeremy Hessel's up into P7, the second highest placed gold driver. Keanu Bourguignon is now looking to pick off John Barnes, so not quite the first stint John Barnes was looking for. I saw a change in order a little further up. I think that's Robin Deville now promoting himself up into P4. That's Nicholas Last sideways. I think, yes, he's gone all over the grass. You can see it there. So Nicholas Last through sector 2 has gone off the road. Talk us through it, Hasse.
Well, he goes just on the outside, and he, I think, just lost grip there on the AstroTurf. And he did very well, actually, not to cause any more than that. It could have been a lot more dramatic for Nicholas Last, who got away with just losing 2 positions. But now he has Jeremy Hessels and Johnny Verhoeven right on his tail as well. And that's not going to make things any much easier for him here as they run the final corner. Look at that, though. Neil Cooper, Fury Simsports. This is something we've yet to see this season, Jack. Porsche up into 5th place. And that's really nice to see. And he's actually pulling a lap of 1:14.2 of his last lap. And that's gaining time on the BMW in front of Robin Deville. So really nice to see that the Porsches are more competitive than we've seen at the opening 3 rounds of this season here at Mosport. Keanu Bourguignon in 10th. We've got Ryan Parkins 14th. But of course, with opportunities to gain, nothing is over here. With just over 10 minutes into this race, Ryan Parkins is on the tail of Rutger Wijnen, and he's doing a good job of following the BMW around. I think the car of Wijnen might have a little bit of a dent somewhere in it. I'm not quite sure about that here. Oh, look at that, Jeremy Hessels. And the car of Johnny Verhoeven was completely disguised in the shadows of the big boy BMW M8. And Jeremy Hessels concedes 7th place to Johnny Verhoeven, who is on a recovery drive at the moment here. Keanu Borgagnon is passed on John Barnes up into 9th place as well. And then behind we've got Bud Boland from Meraki Racing, the Manxman. And then behind is Sepp Heverer up into 12th. We've got Rutger Weinen, then Parkins, Ashton, Tusting, then Lee Diemer, Carl Sharkey in 18th for Strasse Porsche Sport. And then it's, I was about to say Ryan Gosling. This is Paul Gosling and Matthias Temme rounding off the top 20. And indeed, Porsche Sport, it is about time that we see the beautiful 911 RSRs in their rightful place. And you know what? These opening 12 minutes have, well, in one way they've flown by, but we've seen so much action that it's been really hard just to keep track of what's been going on. It's been more than eventful here for the opening part of the race, I believe.
It really has been. We've got to remember there's a great battle going on at the front of the field still. Job de Ligt, Martin van Loosnord and Mario Yori still nose to tail, and this is a battle for the lead, but we've got to remember you've got to pit to at least twice during this race through the 1 hour 30. There is a specific pit window where you've got to pit. So if you pit too early, you will then have to pit earlier for the second pit stop, and you might not make it to the end on fuel. But Job de Ligt still in the lead at this point. You've got to think as Martin van Loosnord, put yourself in the helmet. What would you do? Would you stick behind in the draft? This is Johnny Verhoeven going through the final corner. There was a blink up ahead for somebody, but he continues on. Not quite sure what the drama for Johnny Verhoeven was. He's still out on the circuit in P7. Martin van Loosnord, there we go, still in second position. But if I was Martin van Loosnord, well, if you were Martin van Loosnord, Hasse, what would you do? Would you sit in the draft and save fuel, or would you get in the lead and try and build a gap?
Well, it doesn't really seem like he's really able to claw out big time on Job de Ligt at the moment. Oh, we've had an incident as well here. And who is that? Oh, I'm afraid that's Neil Cooper. Oh no, Neil Cooper has had an incident in the Porsche from 5th place. Oh, and the rear's gone around. And that's picked up 1, 2 of the BMWs. Oh, that's Keanu Borgagnon. He makes it just through, and he tries just to get out of the way. So Johnny Verhoeven and Jeremy Hessels, I believe, also picked up in that one. And that was a very unlucky moment. And that's left it now with Keanu Borgagnon. But the attrition has brought the Flemish Sinsports Gold driver up into 6th place. And that's actually an interesting fact as well, because Robin Deville and Keanu Borgagnon, the two Flemish Sinsports Gold drivers, are in 4th and 6th place overall. And that is a very strong position to be in. And indeed, that situation before, I think Jack would like to tell us how it's like being in a situation like this. I'm going to see if we can catch it on the slow-mo indeed.
So at this point, you've got to remember you want to go the way where the gap is. So he would have gone to the inside, but Keanu Borgagnon did exactly what goes against your instinct. You aim for the car, because 9 times out of 10, if by the time you get to where you want to be, the car won't be there anymore. So he just continued on his racing line and managed to promote himself up into P6 throughout the process as well. So now Flemish Simsports have got 2 cars, I think. I'm not quite, yeah, 2 cars in the top 10. So Robin Deville in one of the BMWs up in 4th position, the highest gold-rated driver. Keanu Borgagnon in 6th position. I think he is now in theory 5th in class as well. Marc-Antoine Thibault has returned to the pit lane, so not quite sure what's happened to Mark. So is Johnny Verhoeven. So either they've gone into the pits very, very early on, or they have had an incident. Nothing's popped up on the event view. Have you got anything else, Hasse?
Nope. I was just trying to see if I could fix, because Anton Dupont tells us that Robin and Keanu are platinum at the moment. So it seems we can never get really up to speed with the driver ratings. It seems they also, but to be fair to everyone, us included, that they do change from race to race, and they can get a gold driver can become a platinum driver from 1 or 2 races to another if he performs really well. And it seems that, to be honest, it is fair enough. We see those platinum numbers as well We'll make sure to get that fixed as well. Robin DeVille does carry a gold sticker on his car and gold number plates as well.
By the looks of it then, at this point in the race, 16 minutes of the race gone, and we've got a couple of battles up and down the order. The one we're looking at the moment, that's Martin van Loosnoord. Very close to the edge of adhesion there, but 1 second between this pairing. A little further down the order, there's another battle, a 3-car battle once again. It's about a 4-car battle, pardon me. Rutger Weinen, Sebastian Herberer, Jeremy Hesselton, Ryan Parkins up into 11th position. He's gained 6 positions from where he started, so it's great to see the Strasser Motorsport car all the way up towards the top end of the order.
Yeah, the Porsches seem to be doing well with the high-speed corners of the Mosport. But it's also a tricky car to drive in the end, because it gives you so much confidence, and if you don't treat it right, it might just go and bite you. Ryan Parkins seems to be in complete control here as he's chasing down the trio, the threesome of BMWs up ahead. He's chasing him quickly, he's chasing him well, he's within, I think, slipstreaming distance as well. With 0.8 of a second at the moment, he very, very much is. Oh, and for some reason, we were a little bit behind there. Now back to live pictures indeed. So Ryan Parkins, 11th for him. Keanu Borgagnan, as we mentioned, is up into 6th place. And actually, as you can see, it doesn't say anywhere that Keanu is platinum rated, or gold rated. So I must need glasses, I think, Jack, or something. Maybe just the ability to actually have a close and proper look. But anyways, enough of that. Sepp Herberer here up into 10th place. He's now really having to defend from Ryan Parkins. And up ahead, I think Jeremy Hessels will be a little frustrated with things just as they stand. But to be fair, a lot of drivers will have found this opening part of this race very, very hard indeed. And I think, oh, Johnny Verhoeven. What does he have? Bud Boland as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here Verhoeven, he goes all on his own, and he magically keeps it out of the wall. That's very nice indeed. Now let's see here, Bud Boland, who had an incident as well. Oh, that's there in the middle sector. We've seen so many cars not really wanting to react to the crest in the middle of that section of corners. And Bud Boland, in the end, doing very well not to hit the wall, because, as we had Cami mention earlier in chat, indeed, the walls are very much right there all the way around this track. And we still have a close battle, even for first place. But look at this here now, Jack. Joop de Ligt is close, no, but slowly but surely crawling away from Martin van Loosnoord and Mario Jury here. And I think Rutger Weinen lost position there as what's that?
John Barnes as well, I think, got caught up in that. There was, I think it was John Barnes going for the move to try and get towards the top end of his class.
And he collects Sepp Herberer. Oh, indeed. The Herberer choir there from Jack and I. That was a beautifully timed one. Let's see. Oh, and he just collects Rutger Weinen. Comes across again. John Barnes. Well, he really causes a bit of a calamity there. And of course, by no intention whatsoever. But that's how it is when your luck runs out at a place like this. It is such a difficult track. Jack, we're not even a third through the race. We've had quite a number of cars in incidents, picking up damage, and really having a tough time. And it's the old saying that one thing is pace, but to finish first you must finish. And here goes Jack Ashton, I think, up the inside of Sepp Herberer. And Sepp Herberer with the brilliant cutback, and Jack Ashton collects the wall, and that's the Strasser Porsche as well.
Yeah, he just clipped that outside rear wheel on the grass, which rotated him through 180 degrees, or 90 degrees, pardon me. And then Ryan Parkins did everything he could to get it slowed down. I think he even locked up trying to commit to a line, but you can't do much at that point. It's a one-way train into wherever you're going. Yeah, Ryan Parkins locked up everything. He couldn't really do much about that. And then both of them coming together. And I was about to say that one of the best things to take away from this, by all means, crashing isn't a great thing, but the best thing to take away from all this was the amount of Porsches we've got towards the top end of the field. We've still got Keanu Bourguignon in P6. Ryan Parkins would have been in P9, I believe, but now it's Neil Cooper in 10th, Ryan Parkins in 11th. Then we go back to John Tusting, who we were just looking at. We've got a Strasser Porsche Sport pairing in 14th and 15th, which is good to see as well. We now got Jeremy Hessel diving in the pits from what was P9, so whether that is to pick up a couple of repairs from the earlier incident, not quite in the pit window just as yet, I don't believe, but Job de Ligt still leading the way, and that gap you were talking about, Hasse, it really has started to stretch out now. 7/10, almost 8/10 between himself and Martin van Loosnord, and Mario Jori, a similar gap between Martin van Loosnord and the Sim Racing Academy driver, and then that's really it for another 7.5 seconds right the way back to Robin Deville.
Yeah, indeed, and it's for the first time in the race as well, it seems it's been stretched ever so slightly over more or less over the entirety of the field here. But Boland is now defending from Neil Cooper, who was running 5th, had an incident, was back in like 15th place. He's back up into 9th now, and Ryan Parkins in 10th. So yeah, indeed, Bluebird. Neil Cooper, P5, P14, and then P9 again, and that's within the space of surprisingly few laps here. Matthias Temme has had a problem in the second of the Fury SimSport Porsche 911s, and it seems by the look of his car that I'm afraid it's not the first time he's been off, but once he's another one that actually on some kind of magical means manages to keep that out the wall. Very well done indeed. Matthias Temme is currently in 20th place, and here is Job de Ligt, Martin van Loosnord, and Mario Juri are 3 race leaders. And there are already lapping guys. Of course, we'd expect a lot of cars to be lapped in the pits here. But coming up to traffic, that might just provide some kind of opportunity for one of these threes to get a move in on one of the others. And I think Job de Ligt has had a slight contact with his front. And look at that, Jack. It seems for on his left-hand side of the front, just a little bit of a dent there. Not a lot, but a little though.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a massive amount of damage, but the amount of like high-speed turns that require lots of front-end downforce, it might make quite a big difference. But for him to still be out in front, it shows that he's managing the damage well. He might not even know he's got it because it was that little of a tap. But now look at this, Neil Cooper very close to the tail end of Mod Poland. So the Meraki Racing driver has got a Fury SimSport driver for company, and this is Neil Cooper in the second highest placed Porsche. But if these two start battling too hard, only 2 seconds behind them is Ryan Parkins, which I'm glad to say is in another Porsche.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, here we see Sam Bentham getting a very good run on one of the other Strasse Porsche sports car, and that is, of course, the car of Carl Sharkey. Live pictures, we are Bentham. Seems to be on a very good pace here. Here's Martin van Loosnord. Top 3 doesn't seem to be too keen on changing. They're very, very, very similar on their pace. And it's going to be interesting, I think, towards the final stages of this race. I could imagine this track to be tough on tires, just like Reagan was tough on communism, and Nixon was it as well. And no more Cold War references from here, though. But I do believe that we're going to see quite a bit of tire wear here, and the best Hamilton out there, the best one to take care of those tires, will be in for quite the advantage come the end of the race here. Across the crest, they seem to be very, very poised as well. Keanu Bourguignon is now the leading Porsche. He's in 6th place. And still the duo of Neil Cooper and Ryan Parkins, 9th and 10th. And mind you, Jack, one thing that we've hardly even mentioned upon, but we've only got 2 Ferraris on grid today. There is no Monegasque Ferris Stanley. Then there is generally just very few Ferraris on the grid. Now, Marc-Antoine Thibault from Abruzzi Esports, he's had a terrible race. He's out. And I think so is Ryan Walker, along a couple of other drivers as well here. Let's go back to TV pictures. As Joop de Ligt is now closing in, and that's on the second Fury Porsche. Who's on the tail of, is that Sepp Heberer? Or is that me getting a bit confused there? No, that's not Sepp Heberer.
No, I think he might be approaching the G-Drive car of Pim Bao, coming around to lap him already. He's trying to work past, Matthias Temet. Up the inside through the Moss section, very, very close. And this is the lead battle as well, but look how vulnerable Joop de Ligt is now going onto the Mario Andretti straight. Joop de Ligt under it. Well, he's got Martin van Loosnord under his rear wing, so he's got a G-Drive BMW in front of him, a G-Drive car behind him, and he's got to decide which one he's got to prioritise, whether he gets past Pim Bao and works away into the distance, or he starts defending from Martin van Loosnord and then starts to slow himself and Martin down and get Mario Yuri back in on the action. But he's got to make a decision pretty sharpish, because we come across the line now to complete lap 22 of the race, 27 minutes into the race, and Joop de Ligt still just about in the lead. He's led it for quite a while now, which is nice to see. But Martin van Loosnord not willing to give up a win just as yet. And you mentioned we have very few Ferraris, if any, now on the grid. And yeah, you mentioned Ferristani as well. He's fourth in the standings overall, so with no drop weeks as well, so you don't lose points for your lowest pointed round in theory. So this is going to be quite a dent in his championship now. Look at this, John Tusting for Quantum Racing all over the tail end of Sam Bentham for Renin Simsport Academy. We've got 5 BMWs at the front end of the field, then Keanu Bourguignon in one of the Porsches, then 2 BMWs, then 2 Porsches, then 3 Fords, pardon me. So lots of intercar battling, and this was the change of position, I think.
Yeah, it was actually Sam Bentham getting the run on the Porsche of John Tusting. And really the most dramatic of moves indeed. We're having reports of drivers with quick repairs that wasn't working, and that's a big shame indeed here. Joop de Ligt still in the lead, but still with Martin van Loosnord right on the tail. And look at that, Jack. Mario Yuri very much back in contention. And you said that was the car of Pim Bao up ahead. I very much believe that's true, Jack. But they're not really making gains on Pim Bao at the moment. And you're just wondering, well, of course he's going to get out of the way of his teammate. And I think he's going to want to get out of the way of the entirety of this battle as well. These 3 cars are very, very, very close indeed.
They really are. Joop de Ligt still leading the way though for Manatee Racing, the closest Manatee car, or his closest teammate. Just looking at it now, he's right the way down in 14th position. That's Johnny Verhoeven looking back from Joop de Ligt now, and you can really see the gap to Martin van Loosnord. It looks like Joop de Ligt has just got that extra bit of acceleration coming out of the Moss section going on to the back straight, which is really what he needs, because we know how strong and how effective the draft is in these BMWs, but we also know how good Joop de Ligt is at getting moves around the outside through this S's section, around the outside. He did it on Martin van Loosnord a fair few laps ago, and he seems to be a bit slower when he actually takes the preferred line. So Joop de Ligt is a driver which is very good when he's trying to overtake a car, but when he's trying to defend, it seems like he's maybe driving in his mirrors a little too much. And like you said, Hasse, Pim Bao getting well and truly out of the way of all 3 of them.
Yeah, indeed. We're just going to cut away from this for a second, because I am afraid we've had an incident, and that's Sepp Heberer losing it there on the outside. I think Bud Boland just parks his BMW right there as well. Sepp Heberer gets out the way. Oh, and he clips the wall as well. That's poor luck. When he gets back in the safest of manners, safely as possible, and actually did very well not having a bigger incident in that situation, because that could have been a whole lot worse indeed. Now back with the lead trio here, and look at Mario Yuri. He's right on the tail of the car ahead. Martin van Loosnord might have to go very defensive here. Let's go on board with the Austrian, the Sim Racing Academy driver, the number 252 car of Mario Yuri. Look, the overspeed he has now. He sent it into the inside lane here. And if he's going to be able... Oh, that's very brave from van Loosnord. And he just about manages to turn his car in. And that final sector, by the way, Jack, reminds me a little bit of the run through Maggots and Beckett's. And another just slightly sharper corner to come in through after it. A little bit more undulation, of course, a lot narrower track. But the course of the corner seems to be just somewhat similar to me.
I see what you mean with the circuit of Silverstone with Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, that little section through there. And yeah, it's very similar, and I guarantee if we did go to Silverstone throughout this calendar, which we do, it's 4 weeks time, September the 9th, we go to Silverstone for round 6 of the championship. We go to Imola for round 5, and I can guarantee we will see very, very similar moves from Joop de Ligt, because like you say, it's a very similar section of corners. Now Jack Ashton, he's in 10th position at the moment, looking to promote himself up into P9. I think Sebastian Herber had just got past Johnny Verhoef in the background. Or where has Johnny Verhoef gone, actually? He's quite a way back. Maybe it was Lee Diemer doing something a little further back, but I definitely saw a car disappear and then reappear in the background. Possibly it was a bit of blinking or some bad connection for somebody a little further back, but Johnny Verhoef now up into 13th. That would be what I saw. Sam Bentham now demoted into 14th. Johnny Verhoef up into 13th for Manatee Racing. He's trying to work his way back into the top 10, which is where all the points are. The leaders still nose to tail though, 1.1 seconds between all three of them. Mario Yuri is still quite a way back, and he's doing everything he can to work his way onto the tail end of Martin van Loosnord. But this early on in the race, I don't really think it's worth overstressing yourself, overstressing the car, and then burning through your tyres, because you've got 2 pit stops to go, and all of this could be played out on strategy.
Yeah, indeed it could, and apologize for an immersion breaking misclick. I was just trying to figure out how it went to that silly chase cam, which we of course don't want to see at all. I think I do see how it crept in there. I'll make sure that this does not happen once again, because that's not what we want to see. Anyway, to get back to the action here, I think we're going to be in for a revelation when it comes to the round of pit stops. Remember Martin van Loosnord, he's been in a very good position to save fuel. Same for Mario Yuri as well. So we could see drivers. Well, one thing is saving the time on the fuel itself, but you really have to be aggressive both entering and exiting the pit lane. And that's something that not all racing sims give you the chance to actually do the run through the pit lane completely unassisted. And with the high stakes of penalties, if you get it wrong, it's going to cost you a lot of time indeed. So it's going to be interesting to see here. We're expecting pit stops very soon. Here's Niklas Last in, well, not last place. He's in 5th at the moment. He's got Keanu Borgagnon then behind. And here is Ryan Parkins. And it's a 2 Porsche battle for 7th place between himself and Neil Cooper in the Fury car ahead. And I gotta say, completely unbiased, Jack, that Strasse Porsche Sport car looks very fine to me.
It really does. It looks like a proper race car. I think that livery, as it was recently introduced to the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Series or Sim Racing Championship towards the end of the season as well, they've really done a great job on that car, have Porsche Sport. And obviously, while we're on the subject, massive thank you to Porsche Sport for sponsoring the series, among others. But Ryan Parkins still in 8th position, and that gap, it seems to be fluctuating quite a little bit to Neil Cooper, because when we first looked at them, Hasse, going through the final couple of corners, they were very nose to tail, but now Ryan Parkins has dropped back a little bit. But on the straight, he'll be in the draft, and I guarantee by the end of this straight, they will pretty much be nose to tail again. Yeah,
indeed, I think you're very much correct on that one. And the point there from Bram van Uyten, that we have the first couple of pit stops taking place right now. I think we have Carl Sharkey in, and is that about it? An early stop for Carl Sharkey. And now I am afraid we have Austin Gretorix in the green-tipped Strasse Porsche Sport car, just making it a little more green on the grass, but doing a very good job of keeping everything under control in that situation. Now Neil Cooper into the pits. So that actually presents a really good opportunity for Ryan Parkins to overcut his man here, because we don't expect anyone to take fresh tires, and as such the pace advantage that you would see in such a position of taking fresh tires is completely lost to these pit stops. But Bolan it is, and Joop de Ligt, who we were watching before, is in as well. Here comes Martin van Loosenhoort. And Joop de Ligt comes out the pits here, so I think Van Loosenhoort has not been in. Here goes... How is that even... Oh, what? Why is he parked here now, Joop de Ligt? I'm a little perplexed to this. I think it seemed to me he was coming into the pits before, and then he was rolling. That looked a little bit strange to me, Jack. What did you make of that entire situation there?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what was happening there, because I saw Joop de Ligt go into the pits and then stop and then continue on, and then he stopped in his pit box and he's now leaving the pit. So quite an odd pit stop from Joop de Ligt, but he comes out of the pits in third position, so he's gone from first down to third, which is an achievement within itself. Mario Uri and Martin van Loosenhoort remain out on the circuit, but it looks like Mario Uri's had an incident or a slight off going through the Moss double right-hander, so we'll have to have a look back to see what happened there. So he's in the wall as well, and Mario Uri was in the third position for a long while, got himself up in second position on strategy. This is what you talked about, Hasse, that sudden change in elevation in the wall once. I think he kept it out the tyre barrier again. He did indeed, but not what he was looking for. And all that time that he had in hand, he will have now lost. Martin van Loosenhoort has dived into the pits, as well as Mario Uri, but I guarantee as soon as Joop de Ligt comes around, Martin van Loosenhoort will be there to continue the battle, but Mario Uri, I'm guessing he'll probably be about 8 seconds behind them.
Yeah, Mario Uri, that is not what he needed, and that is a net time loss of, well, even more than 8 seconds, I believe, because they were running 1:13s, and his last lap time was a 1:26. But that's, of course, also coming into the pit lane. So, indeed, I think, Jack, those 8 seconds that you mentioned might be very precise as well. And here around comes Joop de Ligt. And now look at this. Here comes Martin van Loosenhoort out the pits. And Joop de Ligt straight back into the race lead. So, whatever it was with this pit stop, the Dutchman there fighting for the race lead before, it didn't seem to affect him too badly. And now, somehow, Johnny Verhoef, who has had his pit stop, and he's up into fourth place again. Johnny Verhoef, who was a long way back, and I'm a bit perplexed to this. I can't really see how that's happened, but it has indeed. He's now 6.4 seconds off of Mario Uri ahead. He's got Sam Bentham, Niklas Lasten, Robin Deville, and Keanu Borgagnon a bit further down as well. For company here is indeed Niklas Last in 6th at the moment. And Borgagnon, of course, 8th. The two Flemish Simsports cars are, I think, about 8 seconds from one another. And we are closing in on halfway distance here from the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, from round 4 of the Simracersworld GT Pro Series, brought to you by Porsche Sport. And we have a very, very good race going on at the moment. A war of attritions. And Jeremy Hessels has indeed made a strong return back up into 10th place. But we're seeing loads of comebacks here tonight, Jack, and I really love it.
I think this is sort of part and parcel of the GT Pro Series at the moment. You have a driver which we know can do well, and we know that they can finish in the top 5, and it seems like they get there, have a little incident, whether it be by themselves or with multiple other drivers, and then drop back probably even down into the very high teens, and then just continue to work their way under the radar throughout the entire race, all the way back up into that top 5 position. And Ryan Parkins, I want to keep an eye on him while we're looking at him for Mosport, because we've seen him as high as, I think, 7th position, maybe 8th position, and as low as about 19th. So he's been fluctuating between around about 10 positions, but he's continuing on at the moment. He's gained 6 positions from where he started, and I've got a feeling if he keeps on chasing down Neil Cooper for Fury Simsport, he will continue to work his way up into the top 10. Other people who I think we need to keep an eye on is Matthias Temme. We've seen him have multiple incidents throughout this race, but he has got Paul Gosling in front of him, albeit quite a way up the road, but we know the pace of those two. And then, well, what can I say, the other Strasser Motorsport guys as well, John Tusting and Carl Sharkey, we know they're quick behind the wheel of their 911 RSRs, and if they continue on the way they're going, they will be up into the top 15. We now look back from Keanu Borgagnon.
Yeah, and it's Tom Methrel for Team 11, who's on the tail in that very good-looking BMW as well. We spoke about it quickly just before the race, Jack. It's a new team in Simracersworld terms. don't think we've seen him on the grid for anything else here in SRW TV. But my God, it's a good-looking car indeed. And a bit of a shame, I think it's taken a bit of a dent to the front here for Tom Werrell. He's done well before, and he's still doing well for himself here, even despite earlier incidents. It's not been all smooth sailing so far for Tom. But then again, it's been that way for a lot of drivers here. Jack Ashton still chasing the Manxman, Bud Boland, who's right in front. And this is Ford Silla versus Meraki indeed. And a good point Sven Calvert comes with there that Joop de Ligt could have done with even less fueling.
See, adding to that point, I think Joop de Ligt out of the three would probably be the one to take more fuel, because he has been the one that's punching the BMW M8 GTE hole in the air for everybody else behind him. You'd think that Martin van Liesnoord would take even less fuel than Mario Yuri, the smallest amount of them all, because he's been getting double draft from them both. We're now looking at Carl Sharkey with the beautiful, almost day-glow yellow flashes on that Porsche, and no matter what Porsche Sport do with that livery, whether it be add purple, pink, red, green, yellow or orange, it just works.
Yeah, it really does indeed. And indeed, another thing that works is fixing John Tusting so he's not driving for Strasse Porsche Sport. As you can see, it's a good looking car, it's a good looking Porsche. It does have both Strasse and Porsche Sport on it as the league window sponsors there, as you can see, as the car comes driving towards the camera just there a second ago. But now it fixed those graphics there. But also a nice little message there for John that he's more than welcome if he wants to. So that's always nice to know, I think. It's always nice to feel wanted, isn't it? Here's Lee Deemer, and he is under pressure from Sam Bentham. And somehow I can't really see how Sam Bentham's now behind Lee Deemer. Sam Bentham's had good pace about him. But indeed, he's lost 9 places, so that's where it comes from here. Tom Werrell, I think, is into the pits. And here goes Bentham up the inside, and there's no defending that for Lee Deemer. And he's not even going to try to make it any kind of battle there. On a good point as well, Niklas Last has lost a position with just a single one. So he's not going to be that sad about it. Let's have another look at what happened here in Niklas Last for Sim Racing Academy. In the 99 car, he used to be a gold driver, he is no more, and he goes off, and he actually, Jack, touches that tire barrier there on the outside. Couldn't really see it because of the camera position there, but not the best of luck for Niklas Last, and certainly not what he was looking for.
No, it really wasn't. Somebody who I saw dive into the pits as well was Tom Bechtel for the second time of asking. So whether he has gone into the pits with some sort of damage or some other reason, I'm not quite sure. We've had an incident for Matthias Temi. It says he's gone off track for quite an extensive amount of time. We'll have to have a look to see what happened. We're currently looking forward from Martin van Liesnoord and him slowly bringing down that gap to the leader of Joop de Ligt. But Matthias Temi, I think at the time, was running in about 19th position. He loops the car through 180 degrees, parks it on the apex, gets everything slowed down very nicely, loses quite a few positions actually, one of them being to his Fury Sim Sport teammate. Actually, I don't think they were positioned, I think they were just people coming around to lap him. So the people that came around with Jeremy Hessel's, Neil Cooper, Ryan Parkins, Jack Ashton, I think Bod Boland stood by as well. But not ideal for the Team 11 driver on his debut race.
Oh no, here comes Martin van Loosenoord on the outside here into the final sector here. He's going to take the lead from Joop de Ligt. They're going to go side by side again. But de Ligt is going to have the inside line for the final corner. And all of a sudden, this lead battle is really heating up here. And look at this, because I think Martin van Loosenoord might have the exit here. But it's a very short start-finish straight. Into the compression they go here. And oh, are they feeling it? Both of them. A massive off track there, and they're going to be so close. They're almost touching one another. We're going to go on board here with Van Loosenoord. Oh, and there's a parked Porsche there on the outside, and that might have made it very dangerous indeed. Van Loosenoord brave around the outside, but he's not going to make it this time around. And de Ligt lives to fight another day in the lead of this race. But the heat is really building up there from underneath the Manatee racing car by now.
Yeah, it really will be. He'll be feeling the pressure from Martin van Leeuwenhoek behind. Martin cluttering that curb once again through that very tight off-camber right-hander onto the Mario Andretti straight. Arguably one of the most important corners on the circuit. You need to make sure you get a good run out of there to continue the momentum down on the straight. Martin van Leeuwenhoek now back under the rear wing of Job de Ligt. We've seen the outside line work for Job. That's how he originally took the lead, but Martin van Leeuwenhoek throws him a dummy, throws the car to the outside, back into the inside, but Job de Ligt does get his preferred line around the outside. We now look forward from Job, and it looks like Martin van Leeuwenhoek will get the position this time. It's on the outside at the moment, but that will develop into the inside, and a change for the lead, everybody. 46 minutes into the race, we've just passed the halfway mark, and while Martin van Leeuwenhoek has led the race for Job de Ligt has led the race for the first half, Martin van Leeuwenhoek is now leading the race, hopefully, for the latter half.
Yeah, hopefully for Martin, hopefully for all of us watching, we're going to see a change of position a lap as they go on battling one another. These two drivers seemingly so well matched at the moment here. So let's see now if Van Leeuwenhoek is going to be able to just pull out a gap on Job de Ligt. At the moment, it's half a second between the two. And we're just going to bring out the battle box. He's got Tom Methrel ahead. There's one of the Quantum Porsches. I wonder whether that is John Tusting giving the 2 liters space to pass by safely, Jack. But looking at that relative, Jack, the pendulum really seems to be swinging the way of Martin van Leeuwenhoek at the moment. He's a lap after the pass, up by 0.7 of a second, and certainly putting the pressure on to Job de Ligt. And we're just to wonder how that's going to play out for the rest of it. Here, Ryan Parkins and Neil Cooper. Still that battle for 9th place is going on between these two Porsches. And Jack Ashton has had a problem. Sam Bentham has had a problem as well. So that was a bad few moments for the Ford GTs on track. Here, first of all, Sam Bentham onto the grass. And there really isn't a lot of grip out there. Oh, he does well to keep it out of the wall indeed. Now let's see what happened to Jack Ashton, our reigning champ. Oh, and that's another incident there, Jack. We've seen so many incidents with cars just not wanting to grip, and that's Sepp Hebera just sliding in through up into 12th place. And the attrition is very real, and we've seen so many examples of it here tonight. Keanu Borgagnon is with company from Niklas Last. 2 drivers probably gonna be making a good show out of this one, although you would say it's advantage Niklas Last with the straight line speed of the BMW. And Borgagnon, if he can stay clear though into this section, I think the Porsche is good indeed.
I think it is. Through the twisty sections of the circuit, it seems like the Porsche is quite planted compared to every other car on the grid, but we have seen those 2 lead Porsches, or those 2 lead BMWs, pardon me, battle side by side, specifically Martin van Leeuwenhoek up the inside of Job de Ligt just a few laps ago, and then towards the start of the race, Job de Ligt all the way around the outside of Martin van Leeuwenhoek through the very same section of circuit. But now look at this, Nicolas Last diving to the inside of Keanu Borgagnon, so the Flemish Simsports driver losing out, and he gets shown the outside of the circuit and can't do much to defend that position. What do you see, Hasse?
I see Keanu Borgagnon not being too excited to actually fight that battle there, and that makes very good sense with Anton Dupin telling us that Keanu is aiming for the long game here. And still in 7th position. I think that is the right thing to do indeed. And we'll now have the advantage of a good slipstream tow there from Niklas Last, and if he can stay in that position, he might just be able to take advantage of hanging in around one of the BMWs. Now we've had a problem for Lee Deemer, I'm afraid. In the Excite Racing, Ford GT loses the rear end and goes onto the grass, and yet again manages some almost Scandinavian levels of rally driving skill there to keep it on the grass and out of the wall. Coming back onto the track safely and to keep 15th place.
I think what you mentioned at the start of the race, Hasse, this being a race of attrition, I'm not sure it's a race of attrition between each other. I think it's just a race of attrition with the circuit, because that Moss section of the circuit, the double right-hander, which is very, very undulating, seems to be catching a lot of people out, as well as Sector 1 and Sector 2 generally is where the mistakes seem to happen. And look at Neil Cooper through turn 1. It looks like the car's maybe slightly more planted, or he's got that extra little bit of confidence. He used all the curb on the exit compared to Ryan Parkins, but the Strasser Motorsport driver still only 4/10 away, and this is where Ryan Parkins seems to be that extra little bit more confident going through from Sector 1 into Sector 2. So we'll keep an eye on this battle for a little while. Battles going on behind. We've got Jack Ashton and Sam Bentham. Sebastian Herbert and Jack Ashton, nose to tail. A couple of other battles going on, but I think these two are the closest cars on the circuit, and look at the gap now, within the 0.3 of a second, and Ryan Parkins will have that draft assistance. We know it's extra strong in these Porsches, so look back from Neil Cooper now down the Mario Andretti straight. It doesn't look like Ryan Parkins will be close enough unless he finds something a little bit extra behind the wheel of that 911 RSR. Going into the S's on the brakes now. I don't think a position will present itself, but we've still got another pit stop to be made, Hasse. So whether Ryan is just more than happy sitting behind and saving that extra little bit of fuel, go one extra lap and really nail his in lap, maybe just get it done on strategy.
And speaking of getting it done on strategy, it's not exactly what he did, Martin van Loosenhout, but it seems that he's just got this uncanny ability to carry his pace throughout the race. He's done so today yet again. We're coming up upon the second round of pit stops within the next, I'd say, 10-15 minutes of the race. And that will be a dash to the line. We're also nearing the 1 hour mark, which of course also means that we're going to be 2/3 of the way through the race here, as Jenny Verhoeven is entering the pit lane from 4th position. Sight worthy of a replay indeed as he comes in, but I want to see where he comes out in the end. Here he is, still standing, the Manatee Racing driver, and let's see, I think Niklas Lass gonna pass by, same for Keanu Borgagnon. It's an early second stop for Johnny. You wonder if it's the same thing for him. You also wonder, Jack, if Johnny Verhoeven is indeed going to be able to run until the end. It's about 36.5 minutes, and well, I'm not ruling it out, but it might be a stretch.
I think if he does try and stretch that tank to the end of the race, it's going to be very hard work. But look at this, Neil Cooper back across the track. I thought he was going to collect Jack Ashton there. So this was the battle we were looking at a little earlier on. Very, very sideways into the corner, locks everything up onto the grass. Does he keep it out of the wall? He does. Great job for Neil Cooper, keeping it out of the wall, and then comes back on the circuit. Quite a questionable angle. There's Jack Ashton in the Ford GT, and Sebastian Herbert follows him through. But Ryan Parkins now up into P9. Neil Cooper demoted down into 13th, and there's Jack Ashton. We've just saw him again, and he's repaid the favour. He's made the mistake and come back on the circuit at quite an if I can get my words out, inconvenient time for Neil Cooper. This is Tom Methrel now. There's the grass again. It really doesn't give you much wiggle room. As soon as you got even half a wheel on that grass, it will rotate you through 180 degrees. But back to our leader, Hasse, Martin van Loosenhout, that gap is only going to get bigger.
So it seems it's now 1.9 seconds from Van Loosenhout to Joop de Ligt. And then from down there, the order, of course, the spreads just get bigger, it seems. There still are a few very good, tight, close battles around on track here. Jeremy Hessels for Dynamics Racing in the 88 machine is trying to keep up with Johnny Verhoeven, who just had his second pit stop and is currently in 7th place. But we should be able to carry that on to the end. And indeed, I want to just have a look at that situation there of Neil Cooper before, because let's go on board with that roof cam here just to see what happened, because he doesn't even, just that slow slide, the rear starts going, and he does so well to keep it out of that, actually. And just like that, just to see, there comes the Ford GT. Oh, that's very close indeed. That is scary. Oh, that was scary. And luckily nothing happened indeed. So good for him. Here is Robin DeVille. And a bit on an island, the Belgian for Flemish Simsports. He's got 7.5 seconds to Niklas Last. He's got 13 seconds to Yuri up ahead. So good times, I want to say, for Robin DeVille. I think he'd be pleased with 4th. Of course, the drivers here want to win every time, but want to be a realist as well. And Robin's come up from 9th on the grid to 5th at this time, which certainly seems to be a good result for him. The top Porsche at the moment is the Flemish Simsports Porsche, the number 11 car run by Keanu Borgignon. He is still in 6th, and he's lost the toe, though, of Niklas Last. He has 14 seconds to Johnny Verhoeven, then Jeremy Hessel's Ryan Parkins, still there in 9th place for Strasse Porsche Sport. Is that the Meraki BMW on his tail there of Bud Boland? Indeed it is. So interesting to see if Boland finds anything extra. Boland's best lap 2/10 better than Parkins, but his last lap 8/10 up on Ryan Parkins, and it seems to me that it's an advantage Bud Boland. So we've had Lee Diemer for a pit stop as well. And he's back out on the track here on board with Bud Boland. He's going to be hearing that screaming flat 6 4-liter engine of the 911 RSR. And a wonder of not only, well, raw power, but also both fuel efficiency and huge endurance as well. And Jack, I find the fact that these GTE machines, when we see them run for 12 or even 24-hour races these days, we hardly ever really see any engine malfunctions, do we?
No, and if there is an engine malfunction, it's a very, very big one. Look at this now, Bud Boland looking to the inside on the way into the S's. Does he go for the move? He did. Well, both of them wanting to give each other ample room and a bit more. Ryan Parkins being a little too kind, in my opinion. He's wanting to give Bud Boland a bit more room than I think Bod was expecting. He was more than happy just to sit behind for another couple of laps before the position presents itself. Bod sideways through the final corner of Whites, but he continues on. Bud Boland in 10th position, trying to get up into 9th. But yeah, going back to your original point, if an engine does go bang, it will properly do it, and that will be them out of the race. They never have sort of minor malfunctions that I've seen. And in iRacing, they're quite good as well. I think I've only ever driven one of these where the engine has blown up through, and that was after a big incident, and that was at Le Mans. But yeah, they're quite good. Very, very reliable cars and very, very quick cars. They're just the perfect package. And like you mentioned, with the 12 and 24 hours, it shows they can race in endurance-style races. But we're looking at them now in what is, in theory, just quite a long sprint race, and they produce some absolutely amazing action here as well.
Yeah, they really have. I'm afraid we're going to have to go for a look at what happened to Tom Werrell. That BMW doesn't look good at all. He goes onto the grass. There is, I don't think anything more than that happened, Jack. Do you think that was just a minor lapse of concentration?
I'm not quite sure, really. If he streams, I'm not sure whether he's streaming on any sort of platform, but sometimes if you look at chat, you do get slightly distracted and don't really know where you're going, or he could have looked down at his battle box or looked anywhere else, been slightly distracted, and yeah, lost his concentration. Look at this, Neil Cooper around the outside of Jack Ashton into turn 1. Jack Ashton not wanting to give it away, but Neil Cooper runs slightly too wide, and Jack Ashton continues on up the road. It looked like Neil Cooper was flashing his lights, whether that was in furosity because it was caused by Jack Ashton, or he was just trying to distract him to make the lost amount of time as minimal as possible. But Ryan Parkins up into 8th position now, Bud Boland in 9th, and Robin DeVille, a leader of our gold class, all the way up in, or sorry, it's not Robin DeVille, he's a platinum driver. The leader of our gold class is the person we're looking at, or is the person we're looking back at the moment, Bud Boland.
Yeah, indeed it is. And Bud Boland with a little bit of a twitchy mistake there, and it's allowed Parkins the leeway to just get out ahead onto the back straight here, where the BMW, we've really seen its might. It's mighty top speed indeed here. It's not really been this time around to get the run on Ryan Parkins. And all the better for Ryan in that situation here. Further down we've got Sam Bentham now on the tail of Neil Cooper. We had that bit of a twitchy moment there before on the outside as Jack Ashton went past him. And it's been a bit of an up and down ride for Bentham as well. He's currently 13th on the road. And Jack now into the final 30 minutes of racing here. So we are indeed expecting the final round of pit stops as well soon.
Yeah, this tends to be the time we start to see people thinking about coming into the pits. I'm guessing between now and 10 minutes time is when all the hard work will show whether Martin van Loosnord can continue on in the lead. He's now got a 3-second gap back to Job de Ligt. Job de Ligt is then 12 seconds ahead of Mario Uri, and Mario Uri is 16 seconds ahead of Robin Deville. So the front end of the field really starting to open up, but we go back just a few positions and we see this battle here. This Bod Boland once again looking to the inside. Ryan Parkins this time deciding he's not going to give him all the room in the world and continue on like nothing happened. But Ryan Parkins, the number 225 Strasser Porsche Sport car, still just about holding 8th position, and with half an hour of the race still to go, I'm guessing Ryan Parkins wants it over now.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he would love for the end to have been an hour or instead of an hour and a half right now, because he knows he's gonna have a bit of a tough time hanging on to that position for so long if the pace of Bud Boland is indeed as it is at the moment. But it seems to me Bud Boland here and there makes these tiny little errors that just seem to give Ryan Parkins, who's a very good driver indeed, the extra clearance just to stay ahead. It's gonna be a battle to follow this one, I think, throughout the race. Bentham still trying to get a run on Neil Cooper, and up ahead it's Jack Ashton and Sepp Hebera. Now that's the car of Martin van Loosnord coming in through here, and something we haven't really mentioned upon is that lead battle, Jack. But that gap, for once, our prophecies did turn out to be right, because the gap from van Loosnord down to Job de Ligt is now up to 3.5 seconds. So that could have been aided by traffic or just pure rhythm and the relentless pace of Martin van Loosnord, who's really hammering on. He's in a super position to take another really good result here at Mosport with a race win that it's gonna keep him right up there in contention for the championship. Of course, a driver with 2 championship wins. Not championship wins, but I'm talking overall championship titles here. The SRW GT Pro Series, Martin van Loosnord. So we know that he's a fast man indeed. He's shown that on many occasions now. But Boland, look at this yet again, Jack. The gap, he was so close before, and now the gap through that middle sector onto the back straight, where you'd expect the BMW to really have the opportunity to get a run on the Porsche, but he comes onto that back straight with a 0.9 of a second deficit.
Yeah, it seems like we saw it a little early on in the race, where the driver's maybe confidence can fluctuate a little bit, but that gap really has got bigger for Bod Boland. Whether he's now thinking about the long game and just protecting his tyres for the last 20 minutes of the race. We still haven't seen people dive into the pits for their second and, well, hopefully final pit stop. And I'm guessing Bod Boland at this point has decided he was battling a little bit too hard and maybe overstressing himself and the car, so he's just backed off a little bit. Still, so he's in draft assistance, I say that, but he is getting closer already through Sector 1, so the Meraki racing car, I'm not sure whether he knows what he's going to do at this point. But Bod Boland, he is in the lead by quite a comfortable margin in the gold class. He's got Jack Ashton and Neil Cooper, both platinum drivers, behind him. And 7 seconds back is when we get to the Ronin Simsport Academy car of Sam Bentham, the only challenger Bod Boland has got for position at the moment. And then, yeah, 26 seconds back from Bod is Jeremy Hessel's, the current third place sitter in the gold class for Dynamics Racing. And yeah, at this point in the race, Bod Boland has got to decide what he's going to do. Is he going to continue fighting and put the pressure on Ryan Parkins, or is he going to sit back to the tune of about half a second to a full second, just save his car for the last lap dash.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. And it's a tough situation to be in here, because you never really know whether to... Like, if you got better pace than the guy up ahead, surely you want to just be able to get back by so you can push on and try to get up ahead and gain further position here. But you also don't want to take any risks that are too big indeed. And of course, coming into a pit stop, it's never really the position to push for it, because you can get done on track. You also have the chance to get done in a much safer manner with the pit stop or with an under or overcut. So I think Bud Boland's pretty happy at the moment. He's coming into this pit stop, and when we see him get back out on track, if he's still behind Ryan Parkins, when they get out from their final pit stop, I'm sure we're going to see a little bit more aggression coming from Bud Boland.
I think this is very true, because Bod, he is getting closer, and whether this is just to save that extra little bit of fuel going into the pit stop window. This is Mario Yuri we're looking at the moment. 13 seconds ahead is Job de Ligt, original leader. Mario Yuri has been in third for a lot of the race until he got up to second when Job de Ligt went into the pit stop for the first time, made a big mistake and dropped back to 8 seconds, and that gap has extended itself by 5 seconds since he's left the pits. 18 seconds behind him is Robin de Vil. Here's the battle still roaring away between Bod Boland and Ryan Parkins. Ryan Parkins driving in that beautiful Strasser Porsche Sport car. And obviously, Porsche Sport tomorrow evening, everybody, will be releasing their 4th podcast. It will be on Spotify, Google, and Podbean. So please make sure you check that out. And you can find all the information and a little bit more, well, and a lot more on PorscheSport.com. So please do go check them out. But now what we're seeing, Job de Ligt, our second place driver, diving into the pits now. Here is Martin van Loosnord, original leader. Mario Yuri has continued on for another lap. So whether Job de Ligt once again is pitting a lap earlier than everybody else to see what he can do about getting an advantage on his outlap. Mario Yuri goes by. Robin de Vil is 10 seconds behind. That gap is coming down, but Job de Ligt leaves the pits now and stays in third position and doesn't really lose much out of that. We'll keep an eye on the leader though. He's 17 seconds up the road, just past the halfway point in the lap, and Martin van Loosnord will come into the pits this lap by the looks of it. Here's an incident for Nicholas Last.
Yeah, and I think... Wow. Exactly how the car does that, I'm not quite sure. It must hit something very springy indeed at that wall. That's I think what's called a good old buck. Nevertheless, very, very unlucky indeed for Nicholas Last. And that's gonna... Oh, and who's that in the wall there? I think that is Lee Deemer, I'm afraid. And Jack Ashton getting passed by Martin van Loosnord here. And we saw a spinning car there before on the outside, and that's around the Porsche Sport car. Oh, and Boland gets around it as well. Lee Deemer keeps it out the wall, spinning his tires. Just about in the end. Anyway, van Loosnord still running, and the gap is 33 seconds to Job de Ligt. And of course, if Martin van Loosnord is running in traffic at the moment, he's going to be wanting to pit in immediately, because he does by no means really have the time to be hanging around traffic. Of course, he could save time on the pit stop, could be running with less fuel, which in turn, of course, is going to cost less tire wear. And he does stay out here, so he must be confident that Bud Boland can keep a sufficient pace. He was 1.3 seconds faster than Boland on this track his final time around here. Bud Boland still in 8th. He's still chasing Ryan Parkins, and doesn't really seem to be making huge inroads into the gap ahead of him. A slight mistake from Bud there just a second ago, and now he's going to have company from Martin van Loosnord. And I think he's going to yield the space quickly indeed here, the Meraki driver. Let's see about it. Here comes van Loosnord, and I would be surprised not to see the the overtake happening this time around. That's going to help out Ryan Parkins for a second or two here. And with just under 20 minutes to go of this race, we've got Ryan Parkins pitting in. We have a top 10 at the current time as follows: Martin van Loosenhoort leading Mario Yuri and Joop de Leek, but Joop de Leek with a pit stop more than the two cars ahead. Going to be very interesting to see how they stand. Yuri now in the pit. It's going to be back into third place, I'm quite sure. Then Robin Neville, Keanu Borgagnon, Johnny Verhoeven, Bud Boland, Jack Ashton there in 8th. And then Neil Cooper and Sam Bentham rounding off the top 10. We've got Ryan Parkins, who is right around the edgeworks of the top 10 indeed here. Yuri still in the pits as Joop de Leek comes fly. And de Leek with a 1:13.8 on his last lap. So he's keeping pace now with Martin van Loosenhoort, but still not really gaining though. And it's not going to be enough, I believe, to take any sort of track position now. Look at this battle between Jack Ashton and that's Bob Boland up ahead in the Meraki car. And this might be getting interesting really fast indeed.
Yeah, it does look like it indeed. Jack Ashton in 8th position at the moment, still on a recovery drive. He's lost two from where he started. He's lost 2 positions at the moment, starting in 6th. The Team Fordzilla driver not having the best of races so far, chasing down Bod Boland, who well, this will be the last thing he wants because he'd already lost lots of time to Ryan Parkins, and now he will have to worry about a very, very quick 4GT in his rearview mirror. So Bod Boland, by the looks of it, the battle with Ryan Parkins is all said and done, unless he uses this negative as a positive and basically just gets Jack Ashton to put him around the circuit. But there, once again, the 4GT stepping out mid-corner for Jack Ashton, so it doesn't look like Jack has got the greatest amount of confidence in that car at the moment, in a circuit which requires all the confidence and a little something else to get around. But Bod Boland in 7th position at the moment. He's doing quite a good job, is Bod, in leading the gold class at the moment. Sam Bentham 2 positions behind, 4 seconds away from this pairing at the moment. So I think that gap has come down to quite the margin at the to quite a substantial amount. Sam Bentham now, yeah, only 4 seconds away from Bod Boland. So the lead for gold class, although it looks like it's all said and done, with still just over 15 minutes of the race remaining, we could still see a change for gold class lead. Bod Boland dives into the pits now.
Yeah, indeed. Let's see, Bentham. Well, to the best of my knowledge, actually, Sam Bentham has had 2 pit stops already. Now, that doesn't mean he's had all his pit stops already. He could be needing another one. We're just going to have to see how that plays out. Here's Ryan Parkins. Going to be getting back up into the top 10 now. And Ryan Parkins started 17th, currently sitting 10th. And we know that he's already had his final pit stop. He's going to be gaining more positions when the final last stoppers have done their thing here. I think he's going to be getting the better of Sam Bentham in this position. No, that's not Bentham, of course. Boland is ahead. But Boland ahead of Ryan Parkins. And so the overcut has worked for the Manxman, and he's now up into 9th place. Keanu Borgagnon into the pits from 5th, and so is Robin Neville. And you know what? Right past Coach Johnny Verhoeven, who was one of the first drivers on track to actually try to take that final pit stop. It's going to be interesting to see whether he makes it or not. Although my take on that would be that Johnny Verhoeven, well aware that he's on the fringes of what's possible on one stint with those 60% of fuel that the drivers have able or available for him. And I think we're going to see Johnny Verhoeven go to the end here. I'd be surprised with 15 minutes to go. And Martin van Loosenhoort's in the pits as well right now. And he is already rolling as Joop de Leek rounds the final corner. He's making his way down a relatively short start-finish straight, but that is a comfortable margin for Van Loosenhoort.
It really is now. He's built up that margin quite nicely. 6.7 seconds back to Joop de Leek, and then 12 seconds from Joop de Leek back. Oh, sorry, 12 seconds back from Martin van Loosenhoort to Mario Yuri. so the leaders very much have spread out at the moment. People to watch, I think, is back at this battle with Ryan Parkins in it, but not quite the way we were oh no, it is, yeah, Ryan Parkins still battling with Bod Boland. Ryan clearly not happy that he has lost the position in the pit lane, and Bod Boland will be very busy with the hard charging Ryan Parkins towards the latter end of this race. But Bod has got a race win to think about now, because Sam Bentham has got in front of him for Ronin Simsport Academy, so P1 is off the cards at the moment for Boland if he has got Ryan Parkins behind him. But he's just got to focus on not losing any time, because Jeremy Hessels, although he is quite a far way back from Bod Boland, one small mistake from Bod if he's battling with Ryan, and there you go, that will be the last step on the podium for Bod. But going into the final, or just under 15 minutes of the race remaining now, it's been quite an up and down race for everybody, and that's not just talking about the circuit.
It really has, and this, I feel like it's been the biggest challenge just to get through for the drivers so far this season, and quite possibly the biggest challenge they're going to be facing in terms of just that, because it has been tough indeed. And you mentioned the fact that we haven't seen a lot of car-on-car contacts. We haven't seen those kind of big pileups caused by some kind of stupid contact that really could have been avoidable, as we see sometimes, even with the very, very, very best drivers. What we should remember about sim racing is that element of danger that's very much present in the real world just doesn't really exist to the same degree. Perhaps if you're in a motion rig and it's violent enough to actually hurt you and you have a crash, you might want to avoid it. But to all fairness of everyone, it is also a bit harder in the opinions of most sim racers who are also racing in real life. All I've heard, at least, it's that real life just gives you more feedback. You don't have that with the sim racing necessarily. You have it through the steering wheel, and then you have to base all you do, except for that, on your visual inputs from the screen as well. So there are a lot of factors to take in there. And then, of course, this track in itself, the elevation change, the twistiness, the walls right there, and the grass, a very old school circuit. And I feel like every time, Jack, we get to one of these places, and we've been to quite a few lately here in the SRW GT Pro Series, I'm in love with these old school racetracks that just doesn't really give that much margin for error.
Yeah, I think that is sort of key with where we're going in the GT Pro Series, because the next round is at Imola, and it's a circuit which I don't really see on iRacing as much as I'd like. I do know my way around there, and I've driven around there on other simulators, but not on iRacing, and I think that will produce another challenge for the drivers. Sam Bentham in the pits now. He pitted on the first lap of the race, and then he last pitted on lap 31, so he's coming into the pits now for the final time. Whether he can stay in front of Bod Boland, I'm not 100% sure, but here is Ryan Parkins. There's Bod Boland going over the line now, and he will get in front of Sam Bentham. So will Ryan Parkins. So Ryan Parkins up into 9th position, I think, just about. They're going to come out of the pits pretty much nose to tail. Ryan Parkins just about in front of Sam Bentham, and that will be a breath of fresh air for Bod Boland, because now the person that's been hounding him the entire race will have his hands full with Sam Bentham, and that comes with 2 perks. He won't be looking in his rearview mirror, and the only person that can battle him for the lead of the Gold Class will be busy trying to get past the Strata Porsche Sport driver.
Yeah, indeed. But what we've seen from Sam Bentham is that his pace is good enough by far to merit his place here in 9th, or in 10th, I'm sorry, at the moment. Ryan Parkins, of course, 9th. But you see this train of cars that's really beginning to form up behind one of the Manatee cars. And I think that's the one of... Yeah, that's actually a good question. Is that Rutger Venen? No, he's out of the race. So, just have to ask myself just who that actually is. Oh, it's of course Joop de Ligt, our 2nd place driver. And I think, look at the front end of Joop de Ligt's car. Has he had another incident? Or has he had contact more? Because I know he had that little bit of a dent to the front of the car earlier in the race as well. He should be able to have a fast repair if he hasn't used it or anything. By the way, we have 9.5 minutes of this race remaining. The gap from Martin van Loosnoord to this man in second, Joop de Ligt, is now 8.3 seconds. So that battle seems to be getting settled by itself also slowly now here. 13 seconds from Mario Yuri up to the aforementioned Joop de Ligt. And then Johnny Verhoef 12 seconds off. And Johnny Verhoef was a long way down at some point as well. So to see Johnny Verhoef in fourth here is absolutely insane. Although he might be skewered on his strategy. And that could put him off in the long run. Though with 9 minutes remaining, wouldn't necessarily expect it. Here's Keanu Borgagnon. He's 7.8 seconds off of his teammate Robin Deville. Flemish Simsports 5th and 6th. Certainly not a bad day, and certainly not for Deville. I'm not quite sure about the plat there, Duval, but that's just by judging of his numbers. But it seems Robin Deville would have started in gold and is running platinum now. We'll get that fixed as well on the graphic screen. And then Jack Ashton, the series champ, he's in 7th place. It's been an up and down race for him as well. He started 6th, but he's been quite a bit away further down. I think he's had quite a bit of battling as well. And indeed crazy, Anton, that is only 6 cars on the lead lap. That's absolutely insane. And back to that battle there before between Bud Boland and Ryan Parkins, who has the company of Sam Bentham. And these two are by far the closest drivers on track. And I think I'm going to be doing you a bit of a favor by actually following this battle, because this will be the closest action we'll have here, I believe, for the closing 8 minutes of racing here. Sam Bentham on a charge for Ronin Simsport Academy. And he's trying to chase down Ryan Parkins, who in turn is trying to chase down Bud Boland up ahead. But I think he's got his hand full at the moment, and that's not going to be making it any easier to actually catch up to Boland up ahead. So just what's going on here is going to be a good watch here for the final few minutes of the race. A race that has been presenting us with, I want to see, it's been almost a little too attritional. We've seen so many incidents, I can hardly keep track of all of them. And we've got a question about fan boost. Asking for a friend whether it's possible to give Sam Bentham a fan boost. And no, it is not possible to give a fan boost, I'm afraid. Although I don't think Sam Bentham really needs it too much at the moment. He's got ample time. He's got traffic up ahead. But Boland is now losing time as well. That's to the Strasser Porsche Sport car there, I think, of Austin Gretorix. Here comes teammate. Oh, that's very nice. Team play there to just take a little bit of time out of the BMW and maybe just place Ryan Parkins within the slipstream. And that in turn is also going to help him defending from Sam Bentham in behind. And of course, that is a fine line to walk. And I think the Strasser Porsche Sport guys did that masterly, because in no way were they too much in the way. It wasn't too much in any way, actually. Here Sam Bentham has a look on the inside, but turn 1 is really the place for overtakes. Indeed, here Bentham getting closer yet again, and just see the pace of that Ford GT here in the late stages of the race. I think it's been very good on its tires. I think it's really up there to cause some trouble now for Ryan Parkins here in the final minutes here. They're still actually keeping the gap up to Bud Boland. That gap has halved and is down to 7.5 tenths now. And really good stuff here on the final couple of laps. I just thought that Excite car ahead was Jack Ashton as well. But the gap up to him is 5 seconds, so he's visible for him up ahead. But he just has to keep it cool, calm, and collected. And he'll see the finish line in 7th indeed. And Jack, not that we should get too busy summing up a race before it's done, but what are your thoughts on what we've seen here today?
Well, so far it's been lots of battling from top to bottom of the order, and this battle for me has been the standout battle. I'm not sure whether it's between Ryan Parkins and Bud Boland or between Ryan Parkins and Sam Bentham. At this point he's trying to decide between them both, but we've got to remember, if Ryan Parkins does lose this position to Sam Bentham in the final 5 minutes of the race, the floodgates will be opened, and that means Sam Bentham can make a charge for the lead and maybe the eventual win of the gold class. And Bud Boland, he's been putting in a hell of a stint throughout this entire race, but from 8th to 10th, which is where this battle is taking place. There's only a second separating them. Sam Bentham goes deep, though, into that right-hander, nearly gets caught up with Lee Dima in the Excite iRacing 4GT, and look at all that time he's lost now. So Ryan Parkins will be able to push that extra a little bit harder, knowing full well if he makes a slight mistake, he can afford to do it. But look how close. There you go. As soon as he gets rid of any distraction in his rearview mirror, once again back on the rear wing of Bod Boland. But look what's happened. He's managed to drag Sam Bentham with him. So while the lead for Platinum class at the moment has been pretty stable throughout the entire race, the Gold class lead, I think, is going to go down to the final few laps.
Yeah, we're just going to have a look back here at a good battle indeed, it seems, between Sebastian Heberer and Jeremy Hessels, as they've gone back and forth and back and forth and back and forth several times in a short space of a time here. Or might that just have been through one corner, I suppose. But they are indeed still close, and we're going to be keeping an eye on that run as well here. Oh, and Boland's got past. No, Boland was past the hell. I'm sorry, I mistook it for a second there for Sam Bentham and just mixed the things up. That Ford GT still on the tail just would be so fantastic. We went away for 15 seconds, and then the overtake would have happened. But this three-way battle, brilliant to watch. I love this kind of stuff, and especially when it gets into these really pointy ends, the final few minutes of such a race here. There's now 3 minutes remaining, which means 3 laps, I think. Depending, it's going to be hard for these 3 cars to get any closer to one another, Jack.
I think it will be, but knowing these guys, they'll find a way to do it. And Ryan Parkins disappears behind that monster of a BMW. But look how close he is now. He is in the draft range well and truly. But Bob Boland is getting a help from one of the other Strasser Porsche Sport drivers. I think that could possibly be Carl Sharkey. Let's have a look, see where he is on circuit. It will be Carl Sharkey just up ahead, dragging Bob Boland with him. Ryan Parkins, I'm sure if he's in a chat, will be telling, well, he wants help off Carl Sharkey, but he also doesn't want Carl Sharkey to help Bob Boland. So I'm sure he's shouting at him through some sort of voice chat. But Sam Bentham now very much on the tail end of Ryan Parkins on the final few laps of the race. And like you said, we saw this coming from a mile off, Hasse, but I wasn't quite expecting them to get this close, and I can almost guarantee it in the final 2 minutes of this race. He's going to get very close. Look at this, Ryan Parkins all the way around the outside. He has a look,
but it's going to open the door.
His momentum. Go on, Hasse.
Yeah, it's going to open the door for Bentham, and Ryan Parkins manages. I'm sorry, so sorry for cutting you off there, Jack. I really didn't mean to, but it just... I didn't see. Oh, and there's a huge moment for the BMW off, and I have no clue just how Bud Boland managed to keep that in line. That was huge, and the drivers behind reacted to it, and no one got it wrong. That could have been the end of all these drivers' race here. Just a few seconds from the end of the race here. A minute and a half is all that remains at this time. Bud Boland, Ryan Parkins and Sam Bentham, these 3 men within half a second of one another, and the margins are minuscule at this point, Jack, and they're just about keeping within them anyways. It's brilliant to see.
It really is, and I think we're going to get 2 more laps out. Never mind, I think we are going on to the final lap at the moment, unless Martin van Loosnoord crossed the line with at least 1 minute 13 remaining. I've got to say it was very, very close for the Dutch driver, but the G-Drive Racing Eximia car has been leading the race for a long, long part. Pretty much split it half and half with Job de Ligt. Look at this now, Ryan Parkins tries exactly the same move, and I think Bod Boland was wise to it, but he's carried the momentum all the way around the outside. Carl Sharkey still just a little bit up the road, doing everything he can, trying to help his teammate and more hinder Bod Boland. Bod keeps it planted through that left-hander this time by going on to the Andretti straight, possibly for the final time. But look how close Ryan Parkins is. He will be in the draft range, so let's see what the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Series champion can do about getting past the Meraki Racing BMW. There goes Carl Sharkey, he gets past him. Look at Ryan Parkins now very much under the rear wing. He goes around the outside. We've seen it work for Job de Ligt, original leader, but it looks like Bod Boland has just got it hooked up. He squeezes him slightly just to make sure that Ryan Parkins comes out of that throttle. I think that was quite good defence from Bod Boland, but now look at this. Sam Bentham looks to the inside of Ryan Parkins, and on the final lap they make contact door to door, nothing major. Ryan Parkins has got a bent rear wing, and Ryan Parkins down into 10th position. Sam Bentham throws it up the inside and takes 9th position, continuing on definitely onto the final lap this time by. So now Sam Bentham still in 2nd in the gold class, but I think if he keeps the pace he's got, he will be challenging for the lead by the end of this final lap.
Look at this, Sam Bentham already on the tail of Bud Boland there. And you just have to feel sorry, I think, for Ryan Parkins. There just really wasn't the space on the inside on that car there. And I don't necessarily think Ryan was expecting it, but I'd still categorize that as a racing incident to me.
Martin van Loosnord's coming to the line.
He very much is indeed. Good call, Jack. And we're going to go straight to it to talk you through it. MC Hasse, I'm sorry. But we've got Martin van Loosnord. This is not the first time this season he's done that. He's taken the checkered flag. He's taken the win here from the most attritional hour and a half here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Joop de Ligt home for second place in the end. And it's going to be another 1, 2, 3 for BMW. With Mario Uri, the Austrian for Sim Racing Academy, coming home for third place and the checkered flag here. It's going to be Johnny Verhoef. Fourth, I believe the 93 machine from Manatee came from far, far back indeed to actually keep in touch in terms of championship standings here. Very well driven by Johnny indeed here. Robin DeVille. And then maybe even more excitingly, a few seconds down on his teammate in 6th position and marking a sort of return to form for Porsche, who's been hit with the heavy BOP hammer of the official iRacing BOP and has been suffering with pace as a consequence of that, which is always a shame to see. But Keanu Bourguignon does well, brings it home in 6th place. Jack Ashton gets 7th. Bud Boland, in the end, takes 8th place after a scorching battle between himself, Sam Bentham, who takes 9th in the end, and Ryan Parkins, who has crossed the line as well, just within the top 10 for Strasse Porsche Sport. And Ryan Parkins, who started 17th on the grid. That's not going to be too bad indeed. But a little bit of bad luck in the end there with that incident there. Neil Cooper for Fury, he's been up, he's been down, he's been side to side and all the way around. And he's finishing 11th. But mind you, he was up in 5th, he was down in 14th, he was up into 9th, he was further down as well, and now he's 11th in the end. A very eventful day as well for him here. Tom Methrel is going to come home for 14th. Niklas Last, who we very much knew had the pace there. He started in 5th place. He is now 15th. And Jack, I just want to mention on something here for Niklas Last. This is not the first time we've seen Niklas Last really be strong on pace, but just lack the final bit of, I don't know if it's luck or consistency, but he's had a bit of unlucky incidents for him here, and it's really picked off his good results that he was otherwise positioned for.
Yeah, it really has. It's such a shame for Nicholas, and we know he's got the pace. He started in 5th, so we know he's very, very quick, and he's got the potential to finish at the top end of the order. It just seems like at some point mid-race, yeah, like you say, it could be consistency or a mixture of them both. But it's taken him 4 rounds to get to where he is, and with still just his teammate, and with still 6 to go, I'm sure by the end of the season he will be well and truly there or thereabouts. But ladies and gentlemen, Martin van Loosnord, 2-time champion, once again crosses the line to take the win here at Mosport for round 4 of the Simracersworld GT Pro Series. Joop de Ligt crosses the line in 2nd position for Manatee Racing. Mario Uri rounds out the overall and platinum podium for Sim Racing Academy. Johnny Verhoef crosses the line in 4th position. Robin DeVille in P5. Keanu Bourguignon for Flemish Sim Sports. Flemish Sim Sports P5, P6. So a great night for them, an even better one for Manatee Racing. Jack Ashton recovers to 7th position. A great job from Jack. And then just about holding on to the gold lead and 8th place, Bud Boland for Meraki Racing. Sam Bentham crosses the line 9th overall and 2nd in class. Ryan Parkins in 10th, sadly losing out there, but still a top 10 finish for the Strasse Porsche Sport driver. A great result for himself and his team. Neil Cooper crosses the line in 11th. Jeremy Hessels rounds out the gold podium in 12th position overall. Sebastian Herbert 13th. Tom Methrel 14th. Nicholas Last 15th. Pim Bow 16th. John Tusting crosses the line in 17th. And then the second of the Strasse Porsche Sport drivers, Carl Sharkey, crosses the line in 18th. Lee Deemer, after a rotten night, lots of up and down look throughout the race. The Excite R Racing driver crosses the line in 19th. Paul Gosling 20th. Austin Greatorex, a very similar night to Lee Deemer for him. Lots of up and down and lots of incidents as well. Not necessarily his fault, just maybe slight lapses of concentration mid-race. He crosses the line in P21, and then we get to our retirement. Sadly, Matthias Temi, Rutger Vine and John Barnes, Marc-Antoine Thibault sadly not finishing his home race. Ewan Marshall, Daniel Handover and David Fuller for Quantum Racing rounds out the finishing results. And it's such a shame that some of the drivers didn't really complete even half the race, because I can guarantee if we had all of those retirements still racing door to door, it would have been a hell of a lot busier for us.
It would very, very, very much have been. But in the end, Jack, I think we had a busy night, even with only 28 cars finishing, or even not 28 cars. We had 21 cars finishing the race. And for me at least, and I think for you as well, what a first race to watch and to commentate upon here from Mosport. I cannot wait to come back here and watch some more racing. This is an epic track, and I think whenever I go racing here as well, I'm gonna do so with the utmost of respect for this place, because what we've seen tonight here is some of the very best drivers in the business really suffering to get to grips and to terms with this track. So it's been a tough one indeed. It's been an interesting one, and we have our winner ready for an interview with Jack Werrell. Here's Martin van Loosenoord.
So first of all, massive well done, Martin, a great job, and well, it's another win to add to the tally, but it seemed like you had your work cut out for you this time. Job de Ligt, he was battling you throughout the entire or through the entire midpoint of the race, and what was sort of your outlook on that? Because at the start of the race, whether you were just working on strategy and planning on sitting behind, what was the strategy going into the race? Was it to sit behind Job and see what happens, or was it you generally were trying to battle him and get back in front?
Yo, what's up, guys? Joop did an amazing job. I think working on their setup was really good. I didn't expect them to have such high top speed, so he could just pass me easily on the straight, and I could barely catch him when I was in slipstream. So I from that point on, I didn't have a strategy. I just thought, I'll just stick behind him, try doing another extra lap, and maybe I can, do a shorter pit stop or whatsoever to do an undercut. But that didn't work, or an overcut, sorry. That didn't work. And then suddenly on the worn tires, I started to get my confidence back a little bit, because it's really tough track with a lot of just on the edge oversteer, in the fast corners. And I found some pace back for some reason, and was able to overtake him with throwing a little dummy. So it was good from that point on.
Yeah, definitely. You did a great job nonetheless. And then going into, like you say, the final stint, or going into the second pit stop, you seem to stay out on the track much longer than anybody else. Was that fuel management coming out of stint one, or were you just more confident in the car and you had just excess fuel to burn off, so you ran it to empty until you had to pit?
No, I don't know about that. I have to check. Maybe I was running on a different engine mode. Don't think so, but I think it was due to the fact the others, it's in the second stint you can stop quite a bit earlier, because you don't have to put a lot of fuel in for the third stint. So you can basically just say, all right, after 25 liters, I'm just going to pit already, because there's some traffic in front of me. And I think that was the case with Joop and some other guys. They were probably struggling with some traffic, and they were like, all right, I'm just going to pit now and I'll be back on track with some clean air. So I think that was the case.
Well, it certainly showed your strategy going into the latter part of the race really did pay off. 2 weeks' time, we go to Imola, so a circuit that maybe I don't know, considering I bought it today. Is it something is it a circuit that you know well, and I'm hoping you might have your teammate back for you at Imola? What are your expectations for Imola?
Imola is a great track. Your car needs to be, really good over the curbs. I think the BMW is pretty decent up there. I've done some races with that car on that track back in the days when the Ferrari was a little bit better, but yeah, I think it's a great track, especially with the F1 coming to that track as well. Some good, some good stuff driving on that track.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time at Imola, and thank you for joining us in the box. But before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out while you're on the stream?
I'd like to thank G-Drive Racing Eximia. I'd like to thank Bim, Ben, and Bram for doing a little setup work and still managed to put the time in with all the heat going on here in Holland. And yeah, that's it basically. Thank you guys for covering the series and the admins of SRW.
No problem at all. And once again, well done, and thank you for joining us in the box.
No problem. See you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks.
Bye bye.
So that was Jack Werrell with the ever so skilled Martin van Loosenoord, and I'm gonna have a word with our second place finisher of tonight. Here is Joop de Ligt, and Joop, a pleasure to have you here in the booth with us. Eventful race, really close couple of opening laps, really close couple of, but actually the entire opening stint, very close between yourself and Martin van Loosenoord, and then all of a sudden Martin seemed to just find a little bit extra pace in the car. Do you know what happened there as you dropped off just ever so slightly?
First of all, hey guys, thanks again for having me. What I think happened was that I was a mouse being toyed with, to be honest. I mean, I wasn't really looking to try and pass Martin that soon into the race, or even at all, but apparently he was quite okay with it for a while. And yeah, at the start it was looking good for me, but as soon as the first pit stop was closing in, he was closing in as well, and I was like, okay, yeah, he's just been hanging out saving fuel, and he's gonna. Yeah, the cat has finished playing with the mouse and he's gonna eat him alive now.
It must be a horrible way to feel in that kind of situation. Indeed, I think picking off second place, is that satisfactory for you then in that situation?
I mean, considering, yeah, I think it's pretty much the best I would have in me on this track against, especially against this guy. To be honest, I'm a bit surprised that Brom wasn't here, but I don't know why that is or if that's an important thing, but it definitely doesn't feel great when you see him running away from you like that. But yeah, I guess all in all, P2 is a good couple of points. And like I said, I think this is the most I had in me for this race right now. Yep.
And you mentioned the track, and what we saw from the booth was a field of drivers all really having trouble just tackling this track in the first place and the challenges that it brings. What was your feeling of the track out there on track today?
Exactly that, I have to say. I saw a lot of weird-ish situations unfolding ahead of me or behind me. And obviously my crew chief kept yelling in my ear about tracks or corners where people that had an off or had an incident. So it was definitely stay on your toes all the while, because it's all it's blind, it's cresting, so I have to be careful all the time. But I mean, it's not a easy track at all. It's a very difficult track, and of course it's US style, it's old, so there's no runoff and everything is lined with either concrete or a tire wall, so yeah, gotta keep on your toes.
Indeed. And 2 weeks from now we go to Imola. What are your expectations coming into that race?
My expectations are a lot of BMWs with splitter damage, but I'm feeling good about that one. I mean, it's a track that we have a good base on already in terms of setup, and I hope we can improve on that and get at least the same result again, and who knows, maybe even better.
All right, and before I let you off the booth hook here, Joop, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to while you're here?
Of course, as always, a big shout out to the team for everybody hanging out with us and cheering me on my own stream as well. Thanks for that, guys. and especially a huge shout out to someone who doesn't wish to be named, but who's helping me out, or us out, I should say, with some setup work, and yeah, that's definitely much appreciated as well.
All right, cheers. Great result, and can't wait to see you on track again in 2 weeks' time, mate. Take care, so long.
Same, guys. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers. So that was Joop de Ligt with a bit of insightful information as well here. We're gonna have a word with 7th place finisher Jack Ashton, our reigning champ. I think he's had an eventful race, and we've got Jack Werrell to tell you all about it.
So, first of all, welcome to the commentary booth, Jack. That seemed like an up and down night for you, mate. It was like you went from towards the pointy end of the field, back down to the midfield, got busy down there, and it towards the end of the race, it just also started to come together for you. Yes, you finished one place lower than where you started, but when you think about the amount of position changing that you did throughout that race, it was a busy old race for you.
Oh, it was a nightmare. That's the only way I can put it. That was probably one of my worst races I've ever done. I just think I got lucky with everyone deciding to either exit early on, or just a lot of people having similar issues as me, maybe just having little offs and then deciding to park it after that. But I just carried on, sort of brushed my shoulders off instead of getting angry, and just carried on, and it paid off, I guess, getting 7th in the end. I don't know how I've got 7th, but when I look at what I could have had, really, if it was a zero mistake race, it could have been a lot better. But hey ho, you live and learn, I suppose. It's part of the course.
Well, you say it's 7th. It's not great, but it's a mega result for you, mate. Because we've got to remember you're not necessarily in the best position in the championship going into this round, but coming out of it, you've got a massive haul of points, so it should boost you back up to where you deserve to be. And I think a lot of the drivers in front of you that are maybe battling, that may in future be battling with you for the for championship positions. This will massively help you going into this round. But I'm just looking at the moment, Daniel Handover, he had an incident earlier on in the race, and that won't have helped him. Alex Torres didn't attend this evening, and neither did Ferry Stanley. So a lot of the drivers that I'm expecting you to battle with didn't turn up. So you've really made the most of this evening, and you've definitely got to be proud of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose there's always a silver lining and all that lot. It just felt so bad for myself as for performance, but I can't talk myself down too much. Like you say, 7th place, great point. That's great points for the championship. Hopefully could get a better result next time round. It's just an unfortunate incident on that second lap. It all got bulked up a little bit where it was such a tight train, and then I just got a touch from behind. It wasn't the person's fault from behind, and it just spun me round, and then just went from bad to worse from there. Kept going up and down, but hey ho. Yeah, I enjoyed it anyway by the end of when I got in a rhythm. But my brother told me at the start of the season to avoid using the number 1 as it's a bad luck omen on the family. It's the first time I've ever decided to wear the number 1, and I think he's definitely right about this number 1 being a bad luck omen. So next time I'm not going to pick it.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing what number you do pick, because you might have a lucky number that we don't know about. And you said you kept on going up and down throughout the race. I'm assuming a lot of that has to do with the circuit. What challenges did you think sort of Mosport brought to the drivers? Because we saw a lot of people just slightly clipping the grass, which rotated them through 180 degrees, and then the double right-hander of Moss before you get to the Andretti straight. Was that one of the corners that caught you out? And then if there were any others, please do let us know.
Yeah, exactly. Them that double right-hander really caught me out. I think I went off there 3 times. Just matter of lapse of concentration, had too much speed in and can't get it stopped, and it just locks up the wheels and goes straight on. I had a couple at turn 3 as well, just running slightly wide, and a millimetre of my rear wheel touched the grass, and it just spun me around, like you say. Just little incidents, no big ones, luckily. It's probably why I ended up coming away from it quite well in the end. But yeah, it was a tricky old track. I knew it was going to be hard. But it proved hard for everyone by the looks of it tonight, because it certainly showed there's not many finishes in the end of it, I don't think.
Now we had a couple of people retire earlier on in the race, and I think the leader in the end might have lapped.
Me.
The only people who didn't lap were the top 6, I believe. So it's like a Marmite circuit, I think. But 2 weeks' time we go to Imola, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. But before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank you guys for the stream. I'll enjoy giving that a watch back. Thanks to Team Fordzilla. All that jazz, really. But just love being in this community, and just enjoy the racing, really. That's what you got to do, and look forward to the next rounds.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Imola.
Thank you.
So that was another round of Jack on Jack with Jack Werrell and Jack Ashton here, rounding off the race. And an interesting few bit of thoughts there from the drivers. Of course, always really nice getting to do these interviews because we just get a little bit of extra insight on just how it was to do the race and not just to commentate upon the race. Anyhow, it has been a great pleasure having you all along for round 4 of the Simracersworld GT Pro Series, brought to you by Porsche Sport. And do apologize for whatever small issues we've had with Restream at the beginning of the stream. To my best of knowledge, we have been live on both YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So in the end, I think everything's worked out all fine as well. Of course, we're going to be back tomorrow with Jack Werrell and Peter Mackay for another race here at Mosport, and that's a very good reason to tune into that one, because I think it's going to be just as interesting as what we've seen here tonight. And it won't be long before we'll be back with more good stuff here on Simracersworld TV, and if nothing else, 2 weeks from now will mark the 5th round of the SRW GT Pro Series from Imola, and that is certainly not going to be one to miss either. So until then, from me, myself, Hasse Rømer, and from Jack Werrell here in the booth, thanks for watching along, and until next time, stay safe, have fun, and bye-bye.